Welcome all. Today is day 6 of our Chosen Devotional series, and the title of today's message is Redemption. Now, if you happen to be new here, I'm James West, and this is the Lions Den Academy, where we strive to bring you closer to God through an in-depth study of His Word. And this is a series of 40 daily videos that are designed to help you connect with God on a daily basis. As such, I would encourage you to start at day 1, which I will link here and in the comments. Now, for those of you that are not new here, though, and have been following along, since we are now over an eighth of the way through this series, I would just like to take a quick survey and hear from you in the comments on whether or not you have watched The Chosen Show. And if you have, what you think of it. If you haven't, it is free, and I can promise you that it is the most impactful thing that you will probably ever watch. And if you are in the boat of having not yet seen it, I will link the Season 1 playlist that you can watch right here on YouTube and at the end of this video and in the description below. So with all that said, today's message, it focuses on the passage found in John 1, verses 17 through 18, which reads, "The law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the only God who is at the Father's side. He has made him known." The Old Testament is full of strange things. Stories of a man swallowing fish, a flood that rebooted the earth, a brass section that brought down the walls of a city, just to name a few. And there are plenty more where that crazy came from. Some stories are so outside the norm, they're difficult to imagine. And sometimes it's even more difficult to discern God's purpose behind them, at least at first glance, which is why reading about Jesus is such a gift. So much of what God did in the Old Testament makes sense when we learn about the things that Jesus did and said in the New. Take the fish. God wanted to save the sinful and broken people of Nineveh, but his spokesman didn't want the job. Instead of letting Jonah sail in the opposite direction, God had him thrown off a boat and swallowed by a sea monster that promptly swam back to Nineveh. For 3 days and nights, Jonah was in the belly of the beast, the same amount of time that Jesus was in the tomb. Once resurrected, i.e. barked on the shore, Jonah delivered God's message of repentance and redemption, and the Ninevites believed. Nineveh's salvation story was a picture, a foreshadowing of what would take place on the cross. 1. Humanity rebelled against God. 2. God made a miraculous way for righteousness to be restored. And 3. God gave grace to the people who believed. Then there's Noah. God told him to build the biggest boat anyone had ever seen. One so ginormous that it couldn't have been towed from the building site to the dock. Water would have to come to it. And Noah endured relentless mocking from all the God rejectors who were watching. That is, until the rain came, flooding the earth and wiping out every living thing not on that boat. Noah's salvation story was a picture, a foreshadowing of what would take place on the cross. And this might sound familiar. 1. Humanity rebelled against God. 2. God made a miraculous way for righteousness to be restored. And 3. God gave grace to the 8 people who believed. And let's not forget Jericho, a fortified city that stood between the Israelites and the land that God had promised them. God told the Israelites to conquer Jericho by marching around its perimeter wall for 7 days while blowing trumpets, perhaps the least intimidating of all the horns, but I digress. On the 7th day, God brought the walls of the city crumbling down, killing everyone inside except a small remnant of believers. Once again, Israel's salvation story was a picture, a foreshadowing of what would take place on the cross. 1. Humanity rebelled against God. 2. God made a miraculous way for righteousness to be restored. And 3. God gave grace to the people who believed. That 1, 2, 3 pattern can be seen in the majority of Old Testament stories, but the supernatural bells and whistles sometimes keep us from seeing the heart of the matter, that from Earth's first moment until now, and from now until the end of the world as we know it, God is writing a story of rescue and redemption. And Jesus, the creator of the world, the one who whispers the clouds to make them pour out snow, the one who sculpted Mount Everest and dug out the Grand Canyon, the one who mapped the galaxy and hung every star, wrote himself into that story. He allowed himself in human form to 1. Be rebelled against, 2. Provide a miraculous way for humanity to be restored, and 3. To give grace to all who believe. And because Jesus restored us, showing us who God was and what he was doing, we can learn from the Old Testament, but we no longer have to repeat it. As today's passage says in verse 18, no one has ever seen God, the only God who is at the Father's side. Jesus has made him known. And so now I just want to take a moment to pray with you over what we just read. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the redemption that you've provided for us, for me personally and for everyone listening, as well as the numerous examples that we can read about in the Bible, as well as the numerous testimonies that we can hear about from our friends and the fellowship of believers that we have at our church, Lord. Lord, we just ask that you continue to be with us and guide us on the path that you've chosen for us. Keep your hand over us, watching over us, protecting us, and never letting us be led astray as we are continuing to walk in your walk, Lord, and do the work that you've called us to do in this world, Lord. We pray this in your holy name. Amen. All right. And with that, I will wrap up today's video. If you haven't already, I would ask that you leave a like and comment to help YouTube push this series to others so that they can have this resource readily available to them. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless and keep you.